Good morning, Patricia.
Good morning, Paul. How are you?
Yes, very good. Nice to see you. So not caught up with you for a little while. So yeah, it's been a bit of a crazy year, hasn't it?
I know. I think 2020 is a year that nobody's going to forget, and unfortunately, they're not going to forget it for the wrong reasons. It's not necessarily going to be the right reasons that people are remembering 2020. It's just fascinating how the year's unfolding, and how little control we've got over what's happening.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy when you look back. I remember watching the fireworks start a new year, and it was all that promise and what was going to happen, and then, of course, it obviously changed quite a lot. So, and a lot of people have been forced to evolve in their businesses during this year and adapt and look at new ways of doing things and survive in many regards for lots of businesses. So I've known you for a number of years. I think one of the first roles was you were regional chairman of the FSB and a few of the businesses that you ran. So when I had my first job in Taunton, I think we caught up then in various things. But obviously, I in the sort of professional sense of when I launched this business, Word Gets Around, it was a Somerset Business Agency that I caught up with you on. I'm really interested to hear you just celebrated 10 years. Pretty crazy that's 10 years has flown by with that. Just interesting for people that are watching this to find out a little bit more about how you started it up, why, how it's evolved, and your thoughts now where we are and where we go in the future.
Yeah, 10 years ago. So it's 10 years this September, just gone. So we're in our 10th. We're celebrating the power of 10 this year as an organisation. So everything we do is we're looking around the power of 10. It started as a group of advisors who we worked on a number of different projects across the Southwest, supporting people from all different backgrounds and all different start points on how to get into business. And getting into business to us was somebody who wanted to be self-employed. It was perhaps somebody who got bigger ambitions, that wanted to grow a company. It was somebody that was feeling that at this stage in their life, a self-employment role or maybe a consultancy role was something that they wanted to do, or the fact that we worked with a whole group of people that couldn't get a job, for whatever reason, so took a self-employment route. So Somerset Business Agency was born. We immediately started working on local authority and government contracts. We were successful in getting some small contracts at the beginning. And we worked with our partners across the Southwest, supporting those wanting to start a business initially. And then it grew, and we're now we support growing businesses. We support people with education to help them in their enterprise journey, whatever that might look like. So we're an accredited qualification centre now for enterprise qualifications. We also work in schools now, doing enterprise skills for young people, not necessarily with the idea that they'll leave school and get into self-employment, but it's just enterprising skills I think are valuable for anybody.
Yeah.
In work these days, because businesses are much more dynamic than they ever used to be, and they look at how businesses have had to change over the last 8 or 9 months, and still having to evolve. So Somerset Business Agency started, like I say, with 4 advisors with this idea, but previous to that we'd met every month for 18 months to say, was it the right thing to do, and were we going in the right direction? We were all self-employed and are individually, but as a group, was it going to work, and that sort of thing, and all very different ideas as to how this entity would grow and move forward. And it's grown solidly. We've been consistent, and we've been consistent in winning work, which is fantastic. And also, we're slowly developing our commercial side, because at the moment we're predominantly contract based. But we're also doing our own training sessions and our own development work, and that's the sort of the feature for the next 10 years is going to be looking at our own products and services.
Oh, excellent! So it's been quite a journey then, and obviously you met loads of interesting people along the way. So I remember you had this series of Dare to Dream events, obviously, which I was lucky enough to be involved in, to come along and sort of share my story starting out, and it's really empowering, isn't it? Great to see people wanting to start a business, being able to put people in touch with the help they need. And it's really rewarding in that regard. There was events in, was it in Chard? There was one in Taunton, Bridgewater. Was that right? Mine.
Yeah, we did them across all of Somerset.
Yeah.
And the Dare to Dream events were the real launch pad for what we were doing. And Dare to Dream was a fantastic series, and got us established and got us out there and known for the sort of things that we could do. It's fantastic to remember those. I remember the very first one, and we were nervous as anybody going to show up. And we did it in the college at Taunton. And so we worked around, if we got 40 people come, we'd be ecstatic, and 120 turned up.
Wow.
So you can imagine we were just delighted. So we realized that the appetite was there for the sort of support and services and the collaborations and the partnerships that we could build and help people go forward. What we've seen is, we're now just over 4,500 businesses that we've supported in the journey.
Yeah.
Ranging, and we've got some great success stories, from somebody that just had a little kernel of an idea and wanted to get self-employed and has now sold a company for millions, and our success is their success. We're the ones in the background, and that's where we're happy to be, just helping people along. I saw somebody put on LinkedIn yesterday that it's 9 years since their business launched, and they name checked Somerset Business Agency as the organisation that gave them the sort of start to go forward, and that's fantastic. And 9 years later they still remember that intervention, and that's just fantastic. And that's the bit that gets me out of bed every day, is hearing those fantastic stories where somebody said, I started here and I moved to here, and this is what happened. But we're also just as delighted when somebody perhaps takes on the self-employment mantle to begin with and does it for a period of time and then moves on because their life moves on and whatever. It doesn't mean that everybody is still in business. It's, because some people take self-employment for a period of time.
Yeah.
It's interesting that we've been through a sort of recession dip in the 10 years that we've been going. And unfortunately, the likelihood is we may be entering another one. Of some description, and we don't know how it's all going to shape up at the moment, but obviously some of the financial indicators and economic indicators are not brilliant right now. Yeah. But how strong new startups come out of that period of time, because as typical Brits, innovation is where it's going to be. And I think of the businesses I watch around that we've supported and other businesses, how innovative they've become during this 9 months. And it's a credit. It's a credit to us as a society and as a nation that we're pretty smart. We get on it and we look for different ways of doing it. Yeah, we take some pain along the way. The statistics that halfway through lockdown was the online and interconnectivity online has moved forward 5 years in 5 months.
Yeah,
that's quite significant, isn't it? And I even think about it myself, can you imagine video conferencing as popular as it is now if it wasn't for what's happened?
Yeah,
it's just
similar conversations about that. Yeah, it's just pushed it forward so much, and it's forced people to upskill in terms of getting behind and it's
absolutely.
I've been wanting to do this for ages, Patricia, but it's quite daunting to kind of put yourself out there, isn't it? And I've worked with clients where I've said, look, you really need to be doing it because business is very much about relationships, authenticity, sharing your, showing your vulnerable sides, showing that where you can help people, etc. And I've seen people since this year have really taken off in terms of embracing sort of digital ideas, and people that have maybe been traditionally B2B businesses have had to think around that, like that problem solve, that kind of entrepreneurial sort of side. And now they've started doing B2C, and their business is rocketed because they've had to, and actually thought, well, this actually has been a problem, but we've overcome that barrier, and actually it's laid us a path that now gives us loads of different options to expand the business. And I guess there's these people that are going to lose their jobs, and there are going to be inevitably people that say, well, this is my chance to take this opportunity to go for it and maybe start my own business for the first time. And it's great having organisations like yourselves where you've got that help and experience of people around you. When I started, say nearly 10 years ago, it's so daunting now and looking back of what to do, and I think the best thing I ever did was turn up and go, I need help. I don't know what I'm doing. Because that's a big thing, is to ask for help. Because I didn't know what I was doing. But the people that helped me have been invaluable, such as yourselves and other people from different organisations. And the network that I've built over that time, that you don't feel on your own. You feel part of a bigger organisation because you've got those people that you've got those strong relationships with.
And absolutely. I mean, the things I would say that I've noticed over lockdown is lots of networking, people reconnecting, because, lockdown and the pandemic and everything that's happened this year has made people suddenly reflect on where they got the support from, who do they think that could help with what goes on. And so it's been fantastic to see all these wonderful connections remade and learning about each other again, because, you do. Life ebbs and flows, and there's times when you're in somebody's circle of vision, and there's times when you're not, and that's fine, and that's how it should be. But it's fantastic that these connections have been made. The other thing I'm just astonished by is the latent skills that were sat there all the time in individuals that they've suddenly been able to do, use the skills in what they're doing because of that they've had to change the nature of their business, and they've actually found they've quite liked some of it. They quite like getting involved in the online type world. They quite like being a bit innovative, a bit creative. And to see people do all of that thing is just fantastic. And I love that. And I love to see that people have gone, yeah, actually, I'm not too bad at this. I can do this thing. I was scared silly by it, and I really didn't want to do it, but I can actually do it. And it's amazing that the businesses that have grown, and, in all business world and in all commercial world and organizations developing and growing, you've got winners and losers. You will always have that. But it's amazing the ones that have adapted in probably a collaborative way, how successful they're being, whether it's not just all about them, because small businesses, yes, we're great, we're dynamic, we're creative, but we're also quite vulnerable, and we're quite sort of, it can be feast or famine. So we're quite a difficult group of organizations to work with. But together, we're really, really strong. And I think of all the fantastic new networking groups that I see coming up, different ones, around sector specific, like you've got Seed in Bridgewater, that's coming forward now, all about the creative industries. You've got Langport Connect, which is doing something around upskilling and looking at, giving people ideas. These are all fantastic things. The growth of organizations of like Spark, like yourselves, word gets around. We've just done a campaign with you, because we're moving into the sort of more commercial side. So, we've reconnected and we're doing a campaign with you over the next 12 months, all of those sorts of things. And it just shows how dynamic the business world can be. But it's also, I think, shown to lots of other businesses that Somerset doesn't, just because you're based here, doesn't mean to say you have to do everything and operate from here. I look at some of the small businesses I've seen grow to do international business, to do, UK-wide business, regional business. And to me, that's all good. That is really all good. And, it is difficult. And I feel for the ones that it's more difficult for them to adapt, because perhaps the business model is such that it is in situ, or it is very staid and physical. That's very difficult. But I think if they just reach out, there's people around them that will help. You've got, Somerset. I'm still astonished about the creativity that comes out of Somerset, and the things that you see develop here. You just think, wow, where did that come from? And I'm delighted as Somerset Business Agency, we're transitioning into SBA because we're working more regionally now. So it's Somerset is obviously will always be, I'm Somerset born and bred. It will always be my home, and it will always be, where the organization was founded. But we're just reaching out now. We've just done our first bit of international work in Vietnam, Myanmar, and Cambodia. So, and again, it's about enterprise skills, and it's about enterprise skills in students. So again, it's not necessarily business startup, but it's about putting enterprising skills into individuals. And that's another thing I'm so pleased to see that it's building into the curriculum for schools, because, enterprising skills, when I was at school, it wasn't something you got taught.
Yes.
Working for
Yeah.
yourself was not one of the options I remember any of my peer group being given. And I'm not saying that that's what people from school want to do, but at least let them know it's an option.
Yeah.
And building a business and being innovative and being creative. And you look at employers these days, one of the big skills they're always looking for, isn't it, is somebody who's a little bit enterprising. You might be within an organization, but they want you to be enterprising. So I'm really pleased that the agenda is moving forward. As ever, Paul, you know me well enough, it's never fast enough. And I'd like to see it a lot more, but it's getting there. It is moving forward, which is great.
I'm really pleased you mentioned that, because I've been having lots of conversations recently, particularly this week, actually. It's almost like you were reading my mind about rewriting curriculums and how that bridging the sort of the transfer, the gap between education and employment, because sometimes in the past it has felt like you learn these bits of skills, you come out the other end, and you shouldn't come out into the wilderness of like, oh my God, what do I do next? You should already have those, like you said, the entrepreneurial enterprise and skills, the need, knowing how to think about business strategy or marketing or sales or finance. Any job that you've got those well-rounded sort of experience in is going to help you and put you in good stead. So yeah, it's great to see these things going on where there's that overlap. And you mentioned that collaboration with outside organizations, with education or manufacturing or whatever it is, and it's great.
I think the relationship with schools is getting better. Schools are realizing that particularly small businesses have got some really good stuff to offer them in terms of getting involved. And I'm just delighted that it's beginning to grow. I'm taking up the post of an enterprise advisor for schools in a couple of weeks' time. So, and with a network of other enterprise advisors that go into schools. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. I was the Winston Churchill Fellow in 2017, and very lucky, got to spend some time in the US and in Australia. And I met a program in Australia where they're teaching primary school children finance and monetary skills, and it's a dedicated project, and it's fascinating. And they get them to run a little business, maybe selling lemonade from a lemonade stand, or selling their pictures or whatever, and things like that. But there's a whole program, and quite often it's driven by the parents. The parents are very involved in it, because what they've realized in some of the Australian schools that I was looking at is that the parents don't have these skills. So they, and it's actually intergenerational that some of these skills have been missed. So this project is actually driven to get the parents involved, and all of a sudden they're teaching two generations about how to manage money, and with under the sort of project guise of running a small business.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I'd love to have, if I look back at college, and even sort of 25 years ago when I was sort of at college, leaving college, and it was a bit restricted, even a bit back then. But I wish I'd done business, because, and obviously did end up in graphic design and marketing. But even back then, art was just like, at the college I was at, just offered fine art. And then I went on to say Somerset College, which now I'm working with again in a sort of associate lecturer role in the graphic design suite. I, like you.
Well done, fantastic.
I love this kind of, I love going back and working with the students and giving back. And also, you say, it's given them, it's that crossover between working in the real world and education, and that needs to blur the edges on that a little bit. And like you said, that these programs where you learn these skills and it becomes normal, that it's not alien, and it's exciting, and it just opens up so many ideas. Like you said, we're such a great country for that. And that Somerset is a wonderful place to live. Both you and I, we will say with the Somerset Day things we've done together collaboratively in the past, promoting Somerset Day. Such a diverse range of businesses in this county, and a beautiful place to live. And now it's kind of like, when it's what's great as well is this year is kind of the kind of the gaps of the rural communities where the infrastructure isn't so good. It's now we're like, well, come on, get your asses in gear, because we're ready, and there's businesses that need its technology, and it's going to accelerate everything so much forward. And now you've got organisations such as yourselves or Spark Somerset that I was in a chat with yesterday. There's so much help to help people, so it's not so scary as it was to go out and say, I have a dream to start a business. What do I do? Or if you're struggling with a business that, say, has been around for a while, is to say we need to adapt, but we're not sure what to do. There's help there, isn't there? And it's just great.
Yeah. And I would love Somerset to be known. I was on listening to a lecture last night as part of the Royal Society, and it was from a fellow at Hawkwood College, which is based in Gloucester, and they're thought leaders. And so the big thing last night was, what is your 100-year plan? Your individual 100-year plan? Because what we've got to do now is start putting stuff in place for when we're not going to be around. And this guy has written a book called Be a Good Ancestor. So what are we going to be remembered for? And it's really made me, it got me, sort of the mental juices really going as to what I could do differently, or what I could do to support that, so that the future generations, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren and beyond, what are we going to do for them now? What are we going to put in the ground now that is going to make it good for them? And I just came away thinking of it, and I've driven from my home in Langport today down to Minehead. And so I've had that drive and I've been thinking about it. And knowing I'm going to come and talk to you, I was thinking, what could it be? And I would like Somerset and the Southwest to be known as enterprise capital of the UK. So that, it's where you can come and explore your ideas. It's where you can come and debate your ideas. It doesn't matter what age, where your start point is. You can come to there will be somewhere in Somerset that you can come and West Country wider as well, but particularly Somerset, there's somewhere you can come and you can say, what if I was to do this? And have a safe place for people to challenge your thinking, to offer you support, to perhaps say, right, you ought to collaborate with these different individuals, that sort of thing. But it becomes known as enterprise capital, because Somerset, I was born in West Somerset, and I've lived in all what used to be the other 4 districts, now 4 in total. So, and they are the most enterprising people I've met in each one, because we're such a difficult county in terms of transport links. So, it's never in, and I don't want it to change. I don't want all of these extra roads and everything put in, especially, because it's just going to fragment what happens.
Yeah.
But the collaboration of all of those different individual groups, I just think that, we could be known as enterprise capital, of the UK, because of the dynamism that's here. People I've met through the journey that I've done with SBA, I've never met as many people that can think round corners as the guys starting businesses in Somerset, whatever that might be. And blimey, we've seen them all, from the weird to the wonderful of people starting businesses, and, some things that I didn't even know were a thing. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and we're supporting her because she's doing augmented reality children's books about sustainability.
Wow, that's awesome.
When she gave me the title, it blew my mind, and then it made me think, blimey, I've got to scrub up on, augmented reality now. When did I ever think 10 years ago that somebody would be talking to me about augmented reality books that are going to go into primary schools in Somerset to help them talk about sustainability? Well, that's how far we've come.
It's brilliant. It's so good. And hearing these stories, I think when it first, or for all of us, like when we first went into lockdown, I know that I sort of thought, like, first of all, you're like, oh, you can see it all. I mean, we had to, in our magazine, we had to, like, we couldn't put out the May, June one.
In effect, mothball it.
Yeah, and it kind of went, all this kind of money that was booked in disappeared and all this. And you think, oh my word, all the work stopped, everything. And you think, I think I had about 2 days of poor old little me. And then the part of me went, wait a minute, let's take, this is an opportunity to take stock of where you've been, what you can do. So doing the video stuff like this, and it's been, and I'd say feeling, I guess it's been a great leveler, hasn't it, in terms of like,
yes.
You mentioned about the documentary you watched. I watched the David Attenborough one about his life, and there's one on Netflix at the moment. It's basically like his legacy. He's leaving. He's 93. This is what we've done in this time. This is the point we've got to. And like you were saying, what can we do to leave this, 100-year plan, or this, what can we do now? It's been a great sort of like, marker in the line in the sand of this is what's happened. this is where we can go left or right, or we can go this way, and we can all do it together. And some of the stories this year, it's been so motivating to go, well, dip your toe into stuff like I have with this, and then you go, someone else does something, you go, oh, they're doing great, and then you feel part of this movement, like say as a county. And I felt really, really guilty for feeling so upbeat and motivated, because lots of stuff was happening alongside obviously the horrendous year we've had in terms of what's happening with COVID. But it is a society working together, isn't it? Seeing a way around problems. I'm so proud to be. I've never felt so motivated this coming up to 10 years than I was when I first started, because there's that huge opportunity work in the colleges. There's stuff with the networking groups. So there's great things popping up left, right, and centre, and they're all for the benefit of people to have a safe space to say build a business and organisation and let it grow and explore. So right.
And I think that's a really good point you've made, Paul, is the fact that your business changes. And people, that's the bit that I think some businesses is where they've hit their barrier, when they think, yeah, but hang on a minute, it was all doing fine and it was rolling on doing the same thing, same. If you look at business as a concept and you look at a company as a concept, it was for a limited period of time. That's why it's called a limited company. Mm-hmm. Because it was supposed to achieve something. It was, in effect, a massive project. And it has to change. It can't be same. Your operating environment changes. The people you're working with change. Customers change. Everything changes. So it's okay to say, right, we took the business and we took it here. And we used to sell widgets, and we've always sold widgets, and they're fantastic widgets, and we want people to compete buying those widgets. But what you might have to think is the widget has to change, or you have to change the way you sell the widget, whatever it might be. And that is the bit that is probably the hardest for most business owners to get over. That, for 2, 3, 4 years, it worked fantastically well, and then it doesn't anymore, or it doesn't work quite as well. And that's where I think businesses have got to go back to actually thinking they're a startup again. SBA is a startup again. We've done 3 or 4 cycles of government contracting, of school activity and stuff like that. We're in transition again. So in effect, we're starting again. We have to do that whole bit, of where's our SWOT analysis, where's our skills analysis or skills audit on our staff, because we have to. We've got some key themes that are running through that will be the same. But if we want to grow and go to the next one, we have to be realistic and say, need to change the offer a little bit. Yeah. And it's interesting you mentioned Dare to Dream, because my consideration is I'm going to bring it back.
Yeah, definitely.
And do another one in early 2021 is to kick it off again. So I think it will be Dare to Dream 12. I think it will. I can't remember. But because it needs it again. The environment and everything again needs that sort of maybe big collaborative event to get people going and get people think, what could I do? And this time it will be Dare to Dream, probably all about ideas generation. If we're going to be in a position in Somerset where we've got a huge amount of people that don't have a job or are looking for some other opportunity, let's just have an ideas day, and literally put up great big walls of paper and pen and get people talking and thinking, what are we going to do? How could we do that? What is needed? What do businesses need? What do customers need? Where are we needed? What's needed? Let's go round and round and round. And then out of it, if we come up with some ideas for people that go away and go, that's the one for me, fantastic. And let us be the thought leader. Let us be the catalyst. And it will be a group of us like yourself. Let's involve people like Spark. Let's involve people like Kickin, Taunton, all of those sort of things, and have a massive ideas generation, and out of it can come out, it could be a big project.
That's great.
That ends up with lots of people that could be involved. And that's where I think we need to go. So
count us into that. I'm not going to sleep all week.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it.
Watch your email, Paul, over the next couple of weeks.
We love working collaboratively with different people, because it's just a great, you can say, magnify the message. We've got some great platforms where we can do it in the magazine, or whether it's like video like this. So we're looking to help more people how we can help them, and that's ultimately what it's about. It's really rewarding to see things start, and like you said, be part of that journey with them. I've helped businesses that come to me and they go, I don't, I need a logo design. I'm starting a business, and actually what they need is business support, because they don't. I say to them, I can create a logo for you, but do you know what it represents? And they go, well, not quite sure. I said, well, you need to understand first the business strategy behind it and who your customers are. And for me, there's been a lot of that where I signpost them backwards, so they're a bit shocked to start with. So, well, I can work with you and give you my experience, but you might want to sit with somebody from an organisation where they can talk you through what you need to do. Then come back to me, and then let's work together. And my part in that journey might be really small. It might be somebody else's that's bigger, but overall, seeing business succeed is great. When you see some of the stuff that's on LinkedIn of businesses that. Granny Gotthard's, for example, that's now like tracing,
amazing.
Absolutely amazing. And I thought, to see how her business has taken off, and I sort of knew her through, met her at some award ceremonies, the Taunton Business Awards here, and got to know her a little bit more, understand her business, and it's just there's the problem. People locally, all the local places are shutting down, like all the supplying places that and then this massive contract. It's just absolutely amazing. You feel so proud to be from Somerset. It is.
You look at Redberry Recruitment and Helen Lacey. A real success story. She took a brand new business which she started, and then has taken it and gone completely to fantastic places with it. The other one I was talking about is Binny Ludlow with Binny's Fine Foods, which is Indian food. And again, she started with £200, and now she's distributing all over the UK, and she's done her first international one. So, and that's like tiny kernels of ideas that people had, thinking, I've got some skills and I've got some abilities, and I wonder if I can. And then, you can go around the county and you can pick some 5 or 6 in each of the district areas, or even down to the local community areas where you think, well done, of what you've done and how it changed. And quite often I see some of them and I think of all these wonderful ideas they had at the beginnings, and it's taken them in different places, and they've learned and things like that. And sometimes people have parted company from their organization because it doesn't work for them. It's not where they wanted to go and what they wanted to do. But then others have partnered with somebody else and grown something, fantastic.
Yeah, that's
I love what I do.
That's great. Well, it comes across. It's always great to catch up with you. So enterprising and inspiring, and love that passion for Somerset businesses and innovation. And anybody watching that's would like to get in touch to share their story that we can put out, that would be great. Or anyone, Patricia, that you think within Somerset. So I'm keen to talk to different businesses to showcase what they've done. If it can help more people, this is what this kind of project's all about. Meet the business. So it's been wonderful to catch up with you as always, and you're so passionate about it, and it comes straight through. And I'm really excited now. We have to get this project going for
absolutely
ideas thing.
My mantra for the next 10 years is the Somerset is going to be enterprise capital. Of the UK.
Love it. Well, I think we'll leave it there on that great note. For people, if they want to get in touch, I'll share your details for Somerset Business Agency. People can get in touch. Anyone's got any ideas, feedback, then also please get in touch as well. So wish you all the best for the next 10 years. It's really, really exciting. It's a pleasure to know you and got to know you over these years, and be involved in some of the projects. And hopefully, say Somerset Day next year, we can get out a bit more, hopefully, than we have been behind the cameras. But it's been great seeing people embrace technology and how they can work around the problems that we've had to deal with. So thanks again, Patricia. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll speak to you very soon.
Thanks very much.
All right. Take care. Bye. Bye.